Before Sophie even learns where the coffee is kept, a secret witness has already started recording her weakness. She enters a respected publishing house on her first morning as manager, ready to modernize dusty routines and reassure a wary staff. Yet the building answers her with a thin, maddening vibration inside the walls. The noise seems harmless until it leads her to Max, a temporary technician who treats punctuality like a joke and privacy like currency. By lunchtime, Sophie realizes this workplace can punish secrets faster than mistakes. Every decision she makes today will echo through Home for a lifetime. Sophie is introduced to Ronnie, the CEO, and immediately arranges a staff gathering meant to welcome her and set a tone of discipline. The moment fractures when Max arrives late, breezing in with the casual confidence of someone who expects forgiveness. His delay rattles the employees and forces Sophie to assert authority before she has even learned their names. She pushes the meeting forward, then withdraws to her office to recover focus, only to hear an irritating vibration pulsing through the wall. Following it, she discovers Max working behind the partition and creating the disturbance. She orders him to schedule noisy tasks outside business hours so the staff can concentrate. The day continues with formal conversations, including a planning meeting with Friedrich, the literary director, and Denise, the public relations manager. They reveal a company trapped in older habits, still dependent on paper files and manual systems. That night, Sophie debriefs with her husband Johann, explaining that modernization will take time, money, and patience. Stress follows her to bed. Seeking relief, she slips into the bathroom and watches an exciting film to quiet her mind. The next morning, the noise returns and Max is again the cause. Sophie confronts him, and the argument hardens into a repeated command to work after hours. When the staff leaves, Sophie stays late, alone in the silent building, and her anxiety turns into restless craving. She watches erotic movies, believing she is safely unseen. Max appears, watches from a distance, and photographs her with a screen, collecting proof without her noticing. Max waits outside her office the following day and reveals that he knows what she does when she is alone. He claims he has documented everything, threatening not only her marriage but her position. Sophie searches his background and learns he is poor, young, and stuck in temporary jobs. She decides to exploit his poverty by offering money if he deletes the photos. Max accepts the leverage and raises the price, demanding that she invite him to lunch, turning blackmail into public closeness. At lunch, Max presses her to explain her private habit, but Sophie's friend interrupts and breaks the pressure before it becomes unbearable. Max insists he has deleted the images, yet Sophie remains suspicious. Back at work, she keeps his phone, feeling a brief rush of triumph at holding his evidence. The victory collapses when Denise and Friedrich argue about inappropriate conversations appearing on their personal accounts, convinced someone has hacked them. They turn to Max for help, and he needs his phone. Sophie realizes the entire crisis has been engineered to force her hand. Max retrieves the device and leaves her impressed and unsettled by his control. Sophie escalates their connection by applying lipstick in the bathroom and handing the tube to Max. The color becomes a token, a quiet confession, and a dare. Max keeps it, and a game forms around possession. The next day, an envelope arrives through the secretary with instructions that Sophie should vent her anger on someone other than Max. The rule is simple and cruel. Whoever holds the lipstick can make a demand, and the other must comply without objection. Sophie searches for a target and finds only the secretary leaving early. Sophie erupts, then is reminded that she approved the early departure herself. The secretary walks away confused, unaware she has been pulled into someone else's contest. Sophie returns to her office and watches Max's satisfied energy, realizing he can manipulate the office like a circuit. The following morning, Sophie storms outside and collides with a cyclist, scattering papers across the pavement. Max hears her voice, steps in, gathers the papers, and returns the lipstick, signaling that it is now Sophie's turn to demand. That night, Sophie attends a party with Johann and feels increasingly humiliated as he belittles her in front of friends. Anger and loneliness push her toward Max. She messages him, asking him to create deliberate chaos during the next day's meeting. Max delivers by telling cleaning staff that Sophie invited them for coffee as appreciation, so they arrive before the meeting ends. The employees stare, baffled, and Sophie absorbs the embarrassment while Max privately enjoys his success. In her office, he takes the lipstick again to claim his turn. That evening, he demands Sophie arrive early dressed like a 1990s pop singer. She obeys, shocking the staff with an eccentric outfit while Max remains calm. The risk thrills her, and afterward Max kisses her on the street, celebrating the win. Sophie's home life does not improve. She visits her daughter Isabella's school and hears that Isabella excels academically but is introverted, detached from her peers. The teacher asks Sophie to address the isolation before it becomes permanent. Days later, as the book fair approaches, Sophie notices her hotel room is directly across from Max's, making their closeness unavoidable. Holding the lipstick, she leaves a note on his door demanding a bold act that will draw everyone's attention at the fair. At the event, Max turns off all the lights and slips away, leaving confusion and whispers behind. He later reappears and Sophie congratulates him, intoxicated by their private power. That night, she waits in her room, hears movement from his, and sees him hesitate outside her door, caught between desire and fear. At a press conference lunch with the publishing house staff, Sophie notices Max talking with the secretary and feels jealousy flare. She urges him to make the lunch more exciting. Unsure how to perform, Max chooses danger. He laces the desserts with a drug and warns Sophie not to eat the candy. The staff devours the sweets. During the press conference, Denise and Friedrich argue again, and bodies begin to collapse until everyone is unconscious except Sophie and Max. The next day, Sophie asks Max to go to the pool. Water and sunlight offer temporary amnesty from consequences. Afterward, they return to the hotel and make love for the first time, turning the game into an affair. After the book fair, Max returns to the publishing house and finds Sophie absent. He learns she has been working from home for 3 weeks. Distressed, he calls and messages, then visits her house and confronts her. Sophie admits their relationship is wrong, yet she feels weak in his presence. Johan arrives unexpectedly. Sophie lies and claims Max came to fix the dishwasher. Max plays along, pretends to repair it, then leaves in anger, deciding to cut contact. The next day, Sophie goes to work, apologizes, and Max forgives her. He invites her to his shared home where they spend a day together. Max admits his mother dislikes him because she sees him as a playboy who will never be serious. Back at work, the secretary notices Sophie's closeness to Max and warns that she could report Sophie for abusing her position to chase younger men. Max ignores the warning and waits for Sophie. Sophie offers the lipstick in exchange for Max visiting his mother and spending her birthday with her. He agrees. At home, Sophie bakes cookies for Isabella while Johan mocks her as usual, and she retreats to the bathroom to cry. Max visits his mother and younger brother. His brother asks if he is engaged, and Max claims he is in a relationship with a beautiful woman, showing Sophie's picture. His mother is shocked that he is involved with an older married woman who has a child. Meanwhile, Johan announces he wants to move to London and expects Sophie to quit her job. Sophie is furious because he never consulted her. At the publishing house, Sophie tells Ronnie she plans to move to London with Johan and Isabella. Max overhears, confronts her in front of the staff, and pulls her outside. Sophie lashes out, calling their relationship madness rather than love, confessing regret, and throwing the lipstick away as if destroying the symbol will end the bond. Max returns to work devastated, collapses, wakes, and breaks down. Sophie is heartbroken too, secretly wishing for a miracle. Rumors spread through the corridors within hours. Denise and Friedrich, still shaken from the drugged luncheon, watch Sophie with guarded fear, while Ronnie tries to keep the company's image from unraveling. Sophie hides in her office, staring at the empty desk where the lipstick once lay, feeling both liberated and stripped. At home, she moves through family routines like a visitor, answering Johan with silence, thinking about Isabella's school report, and replaying Max's stunned expression until sleep becomes impossible. She tells herself she chose duty, yet her body remembers game and refuses peace. The next day, Johan takes her out with friends and belittles her again, even insulting her father. This time, Sophie publicly stands up to him. She storms into the publishing house dressed in a bathrobe and interrupts a meeting. The shock is so severe that a woman tears up her work contract in the chaos. Sophie flees the room, and Max follows, flooded with relief.